WebYeshiva.org, Shiur on Evan Hashtia, Shiur number 3. Okay, Shiur number 3 takes us into, takes us into the story and all the midrashim regarding the dream of Yaakov Avinu, the forefathers. Now Evan Hashtia really starts getting interesting. Okay, now, well, there's a famous story that we have in Parshat Vayetze. Vayetze Yaakov min Beersheva, Vayelech Harana. Instead of reading all the words, let's just discuss it. Yaakov leaves Beersheva and goes to Haran. No, let's go. Unmute. Why is he going? Why is he going to Haran? 2 reasons.
He's running from his brother.
Running from his brother. Very good. Esav wants to kill him. Correct. What else does he want to do in Haran?
Find a wife.
Find a wife. Very good. So he's leaving and going to Haran. Now it's interesting that the pasuk says, and the midrashim talk about this. Yaakov leaves Beersheba. Whenever you have a story, we mentioned before the story of Yaakov. It might jump me and say, a story? Come on, this is not the story. Torah doesn't tell us stories. Well, whenever the Torah describes something in a story manner, there are a lot of deep ideas, very deep ideas behind it. It's just unbelievable. So Vayetze Yaakov min Beersheba vayelech Harana. So Midrashim will talk about what's the idea of leaving Beersheba. Who cares? He left. He went to Haran. He ran away. What do I care where he left from? Right? We asked you before, right? If you're coming to visit Israel, did we ask if you're leaving the place you're in right now and coming to Israel? No, it's like, what's the relevance? Pasuk in the Torah. Interesting point. Let's go on. ויפגע במקום, וילן שם כי באה השמש, ייקח מאבני המקום, וישם מראשותיו, וישכב במקום ההוא. Okay, ויפגע במקום ההוא. He came to a certain place. Makom doesn't say anything. He came to a place. So, vayelin sham, and he slept there. Ki ba hashemesh, because the sun set. Again, what's the relevance of all this? And then he took from the rocks of the stones in that place. Vayikach me'avnei hamakom, and he put them arashutav. Doesn't mean under his head. It means like around his head to protect him. Vayishkav b'makom hahu, and he slept over there. So what does it mean? He took from the stones of that place. So again, my goal over here is as follows. Before we see the beauty that the Medrash inputs into these psukim, let's first look at the psukim and observe that the psukim are hinting to us that something very special is happening over here. He's leaving Beersheba, whatever that means. He's going to Haran, okay? He comes upon a certain place, Makom. What Makom? What's special about it? He sleeps there because the sun set. Like, okay, thank you. What are you trying to tell me? It's sunset, you go to sleep. No? And he takes not just any stones and he puts them under his head or around his head, but he takes from the stones of that place, Mavnei HaMakom. What are stones of that place? Stones on the ground? Like, okay, there's stones everywhere. Maybe not in Nebraska, but I don't know, here there's stones everywhere. I mean, Jerusalem, right? Actually, in Netanya, there aren't too many stones either. But come to Jerusalem, every place you go, only stones. That's it. That's all we have here. So, next, he has a very interesting dream. He has a dream, and he sees a ladder from earth all the way to heaven, and the angels of God are going up and down. And then Hashem is standing above the ladder, above Yaakov, and he says, I am Hashem, the God of your forefathers. And the land you're sleeping upon I shall give you and your children. And your children will spread upon the whole earth, and so on and so on. I'll protect you, and I won't leave you, and so on. Now, Pasuk Tet Zayin. Yaakov gets up. ויקץ יעקב משנתו ויאמר, אכן יש השם במקום הזה ואנוכי לא ידעתי. Wow, God, there's God is present in this place. Well, again, isn't God present every place? And he says, and he says, and he's shaken, vayirav vayomar, how manorah, how awesome is this place, or how full of awe, to be more precise, is this place. Ein zeh ki im bet Elokim v'zeh sha'ar shamayim. Okay. These are the key words. Ein zeh ki im bet Elokim. This must be the house of God, and this is the gateway to heaven. Now, something over here. Wait. Let's just get this straight. He's sleeping in a field. He's sleeping on a field. He takes some stones. He has a dream. He goes, God is in this place. Well, here and not everywhere else. And this is the house of God. This is the gateway to heaven. What in the world is he seeing? What is going on over here? And finally, Vayashkem Yaakov Baboker. Yaakov wakes up in the morning. He takes this stone that he put by his head. No, not the many stones. So the famous midrash everyone knows, right? He had many stones when he went to sleep, but when he woke up, they all became one stone. And he makes it a pillar, or a matziva really means Hebrew means like a tombstone, but actually it means a stone with something to remember, some kind of monument. And he pours oil on top of it, i.e., he anoints it. Okay, we've read this 100,000 times. If we look at it closely, we like something's very strange. Now, this stone, 3 guesses. What is this stone going to be? This stone that was by his head has to do with the shear. It's a hint. What did this stone eventually become, according to the Medrash?
Foundation stone?
Yeah, that's correct. Even Hashtiyah, the foundation stone. So all this section now in the Torah is telling me a story of how Even Hashtiyah came to be. And he calls that a city Beit El, but its original name was Luz. And then he makes a neder that if I'll go and I'll come back safely, then you know what's going to happen? If Hashem protects me like he said he would, ready? This stone that I made as a monument will become the house of God, and everything God will give me, I'll give God 10%. Oh, wait. He's making a deal with God, right? If Hashem really protects him and he comes back safe from Haran, this stone that he anointed will become the house of God. Everything Hashem gives, he'll give Hashem, put aside a tenth. What in the world? Okay, is the question good? Do we understand the story? Do we understand the?
Yes.
I wanted to ask,
Okay.
I don't know if this is a question,
Go
but
ahead.
so I remember at the beginning, there was some Midrashim that said that that Even Hashtiyah was like what formed the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember some of your pictures was like a big stone. I'm imagining like not such a big stone because he put his head on it.
Wow.
And
Okay.
also like I don't know, the fact that the Midrash said that it was a bunch of stones that came together, which I don't know if it's like literal or not, but then if this was the one stone that started the earth, I don't know. I see like potential contradictions, but I don't know if there's anything to it.
100%. It looks like a massive contradiction. It's just 1 second. Hold on. Where's that fine? Don't worry, it's fine. Okay, so first of all, the question is excellent. It's a complete contradiction. A complete contradiction. It says, and first of all, we said also, you already gave the answer. The midrashim are conceptual. They're not to be taken literally. So that will be the answer. But still, we saw in the midrash, we saw the Gemara in Nedarim. Let's just bring this up for a second. Okay, I'll bring up the Gemara in Nedarim. It said that the whole world was created from the rock of foundation. Let's bring the Gemara in Nedarim. Not Nedarim, sorry. Yuma. Okay. The Gemara in Yuma says, right? Chachamim omrim mitzion nivra. The world was created from Tzion, as it says. Whatever. And Tanya, here we go. So basically, the rock was created from Tzion, the Even HaShtiyah. This rock of foundation, was created from the whole world was created from this rock. Let's just see it over here. Ushtiyah ne'atani kret, right? There was a rock over there in the Kodesh HaKodeshim, which, as we remember in the picture, was a humongous rock, is a humongous rock. And it was called Shtiyah. Shimenu Shtat Olam. From there, the whole world was created. So it was a world created from this rock. So, first of all, you ask the question, how big could the stone possibly be that Yaakov either put his head on or put around his head? Number two, we see that rock has been there forever and ever. It didn't come later on. So that's an amazing question. What in the world is going on over here? So what I would like to share with you is first and foremost, the Or HaChaim. The Or HaChaim says as follows. Let's see the Or HaChaim over here. The Or HaChaim, he also is also brought down in the Zohar. Okay.
Rabbi, when it says it was created from Zion, does from necessarily have to be a location?
It's a good point. Zion
Because if we
usually
talk
means the
about
Beit, yeah.
I'm from Nebraska, that's a location. But if you say my desk is made from wood,
right. So
or from metal or
Zion
something.
usually is a place. Now there's a very big discussion. You have Tzion v'Yerushalayim. For example, in Shiva calls, the Ashkenazic terminology is Hamakom Yechem Etchem B'toch Sha'ar, Hashem may comfort you amongst the Avelim of Tzion and Yerushalayim. Well, what is Tzion? What is Yerushalayim? So many times Tzion is referred to as the Beit HaMikdash itself, which again, Beit HaMikdash itself again represents an idea. It's brought explicitly in the commentaries. Beit HaMikdash is the climax of connecting with Hashem. So your point is very well made. Yes, it's a place, but at the same time, it's not a place at all. So it's like it's all made from spirituality to a certain extent. So both answers are correct.
Okay.
Which actually is part of the answer over here. So now we see something over here which is interesting. Heaven azot asher santi matzevaya bet elokim v'koshetim li asher esrenu lach. Ha'even azot, says the Or HaChaim, Yira'eh ki zohi even hashetiyah. This stone that Yaakov now anoints with oil, and he said this will be the house of God, will be the Even HaShtiyah, and he quotes over here, he quotes the Zohar over here, and he quotes some other places in Tanchuma, and so on and so on. This is the Or HaChaim HaKadosh on this section, on this pasuk. And now I'd like to take you for a tour through the Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer. Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer, written by Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol, one of the greatest of the Tanaim, the eras of the rabbis of the Mishnah. Okay, let us get to work. And again, everything we're seeing here is now conceptual, and then we'll see how things start tying together. We'll see what Even HaShtiyah really is. Everything we've seen till now, we've seen the Even HaShtiyah, the world that comes from Even HaShtiyah. We've also seen last week that Even HaShtiyah, places of Kodesh HaKodeshim. We've seen a lot of different ideas. We've seen in these past shiurim, but now we're getting to literally the climax. Let's go. Says Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer. Done. Okay. So first of all, he says, Rabbi Akiva says, every place that our forefathers would go, they would have a well, the famous well of Miriam. There was a magical well, which again represents an idea. Now let's go. What does a well represent? What does a well have in it? And what idea does a well represent? Let's go.
Life.
Life. Good. Go on. Think of a well. Think of a well, by the way, versus a water cistern where it just gathers water. A well is actually water coming out of the ground. So it's like a man-made spring. That's what a well is. A spring bursts out of the earth on its own, and a well is when human beings dig down deep enough and they reach water that starts coming out on its own. Okay, so again, it's fresh water coming out, right?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean in your mind? They always have a well, water, life. What else? Water is always a metaphor for
That's it, isn't it?
Chesed, Torah, correct? In other words, all the concepts, it's a source of life. It's a source when you have water coming out. It's sort of like, the concepts and ideas are always coming out of the earth. It's sort of like the source of I'm sorry, yeah, it's like imagine you're always having like new water coming out, new ideas, new thoughts.
Yeah.
It's like the sort. What's that?
No, I said, yeah, that's really wow,
Well,
yeah.
yeah, it's like now what's unique about a bear? Why not just say a spring?
This is
Because
I was
yeah, go
thinking
ahead.
that man, it's man-made, so it's like
Ah,
man getting in touch with with Torah, like man bringing up the Torah back to
Pashut
earth.
Madim. Unbelievable, beautiful,
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 yeah,
beautiful,
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
So again, that's why metaphors is so important because a metaphor gives you your own ability of actually going deeper and deeper and deeper into the idea. That's like when we say Hashem is on Kiseh HaKavod. We all know there is no actual throne. Hashem does not have a shape of a human sitting on a throne. We know that. But we're trying to describe a feeling, an aura of a throne, everything that goes with it, right? So we use metaphors. So a well is one of the most amazing metaphors out there. A well represents that people put energy into it, but when they put energy, they didn't put the water. The water's coming out of the ground. So it's like we did our part, and all of a sudden, Hashem is like on his own, pumping us with water. So imagine if you work very hard and you worked for 10 hours and someone gave you money. You don't feel that you got plenty from Hashem. You worked hard, you got the money. But here you work hard and you dig, but the water is nothing you did. It's nothing to do with you. Nothing. It's like I worked hard, I did my hishtadlut, I did my part, and Hashem just bestows you with spirituality, with more and more. That's the idea of a well, right? You get down, and the abundance comes out. So our forefathers, it's mentioned, it's a conceptual idea. Rabbi Akiva says wherever our forefathers would go, the well would go with them. And they dug for this well a number of times, which represents again working hard for it. And we see by Yitzchak Avinu, after going through the different challenges, he dug a number of times, and each time he dug there was a problem. He dug 3 wells, and Chazal teach us that the first well represents the first temple, the second one the second temple, and both of them didn't work out. But the third well he dug represents the third temple that did work out. Anyway, at the end of the day, also there's a story how he had a fight between him and Avimelech, the king of the Philistines over there. At the end of the day, the third well worked out, representing again challenges in life at the first 2. The third, everything worked out fine, and they take an oath that they will be at peace. And that city became known as the Oath of the Well. Or, in other words, what's another way of saying the Oath of the Well? Be'er
Me'er Sheva.
Sheva. Excellent. Sheshan Nishbu Shtem. So
This
Be'er
was when this was
yeah.
the last well that he dug?
Yeah, correct. By Yitzchak Avinu.
Yitzchak.
Total, yeah. total amount of wells that were dug were 7. You have a number by Yitzchak, you have by Yaakov, and finally you have by the Jewish people in the desert, the famous Be'er Miriam, which again represents an idea. Yes, they also needed water in the desert. But when we think about it, what were our forefathers really doing in the desert? What were they doing there for 40 years? What were they doing there? Except for, of course, walking to Israel, which doesn't take 40 years. What else were they doing there?
They were
learning
learning.
Torah. Yeah.
Yes, nachon, nachon. They were learning Torah. They were moving up spiritually 100%. Now we understand so well, right? They had a well with them. They were learning more and more and more and more and more and more and more. So they always had a well with them in the desert. When they reach Eretz Yisrael, there's no need for a well anymore because they're now in Eretz Yisrael. They're ready to get to work. They've learned, they've graduated, and now they're in Eretz Yisrael. We're here to work. A gas station is beautiful, but the car cannot stay in the gas station. It's got to leave and start driving. So it says that the Be'er Miriam went into the Kinneret. If you really want to know, okay, it says that the Mashiach, again, we're going off on a topic, and Midrashim is a little dangerous because we could go on forever. It never ends, okay? But I just want to share that we mentioned Be'er Miriam. The reason we have Be'er Miriam, the desert was in the merit of Miriam. She was very, very, very special. And she was such a big tzadikah that in her merit, the well was there. Okay? So the well is there by Hashem, but it's her zchut that we actually have the well now. It says that the Mashiach will begin from Tveria. That's where he will come first, and from Tveria he will come then eventually get to Yerushalayim. Again, conceptual idea. Some of the commentaries say, you know why he begins from Tveria? Because Tveria has very special water. What's the water by Tveria? What's his main source of water by Tveria?
I don't know.
Okay.
The Kinneret. I
The
mean, that's
Kinneret. That's right. It's a massive lake. Now, what's in the Kinneret? The well of Miriam, when it came to Eretz Yisrael, the well of Miriam went into the Kinneret, it says. So the water of the Kinneret has this power of Be'er Miriam. Again, it's a conceptual idea that when Mashiach comes, he's not just, yay, saving everybody. It will be, spirituality will come to the land. It will be a very, very special period of time where people feel they're growing spiritually, and spirituality is growing more and more and more and more and more. So Yaakov Avinu now has a Be'er coming with him. He comes from Be'er Sheva, and he's leaving to Haran. In Haran, he's not going to have the well with him. Haran is already Chutz La'aretz. Haran is leaving the gas station and actually going to deal with life. He's going to the house of Lavan. He's going to a difficult challenge. So Yaakov Avinu, again, leaves Be'er Sheva. He leaves the source of life. He spent many years learning Torah, connecting to the well. He's leaving the well, and he's now going into life, going to Haran. Okay, let's go on. It was 77 years when he leaves, and now the well accompanies him. Baita be'er mehalechet lefanav, from Beersheba all the way to Mount Moriah. And he gets there in the afternoon, the Chatzi Hayom. Okay? Now Hashem wanted him to sleep on the mountain. Sleeping represents that nevuah, because we're not in our regular human shape form. So Hashem wanted him to stay. So Hashem, even though it was the middle of the afternoon, Hashem made the sun set. That's why it says, the pasuk says, oh, and he went to sleep because the sun set. Like, thank you. What are you telling me? Of course you go to sleep when the sun set. No, the pasuk is telling me that a miracle happens and the sun set. Okay, now, let's go on. Yaakov now, no Tirka de Rabbi Eliezer, again, written by one of the greatest of all the Tanaim. Look at this. Yaakov takes, remember, Vayikach, it said in the Pasuk, Vayikach me'avnei hamakom. He didn't just take any 12 stones. He took 12 stones of that place. What is that place? Well, it was in Mount Moriah. As Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer. He took 12 stones from the Mizbeach, from the altar, Shenekad alav Yitzchak Aviv. He took it from the altar of Yitzchak Avinu, the altar of Akidat Yitzchak. And he put 12 stones around his head to represent that he will one have the 12 tribes, and all the stones became one to represent an idea that all the 12 will all unite and be one nation. Okay, let's try to understand this. Okay, Yaakov now is protecting himself. He's putting stones around him, and he's taking stones. He couldn't find any stones on Hara Moriah to put around, so he took stones from the Mizbeach, from the altar. He took about the altar that Avraham Avinu built for Kedat Yitzchak, and he
Why did the
took
altar have so many stones in the first place? Like,
altars usually made of a lot of stones. You know, you have to make it pretty
oh,
hot. But go ahead. That he couldn't find any stones, and you're asking good. What if the altar was just one big stone? Could be the altar was one big stone. Could be. What is this again? It's a metaphor.
mhm.
Okay. How are you understanding this? Okay. Yaakov now is in Mount Moriah. The well is accompanying him. He's about to leave Eretz Israel. He's about to leave his bubble of Torah and spirituality, and about to go now into Chutz La'aretz, right? He's about to go into the challenge of life, a very difficult challenge. About to start building the nation of Israel. We live in the real world. It's a challenge. Okay, so the well's coming with him to Mount Moriah. Hashem says, I want you now to sleep over here. In other words, I want you now to connect to the highest possible spiritual level. Go on. Why is he taking stones from the altar of Yitzchak? What's special about it? Go ahead. Thoughts? Feel free. Don't worry.
So I heard, like, okay, this is an idea I heard from somebody else that all the stones represented that he was worried about life. He was out of the security of his, of his homeland, and so that's why he put rocks around his head, because now he was worried about the forces of nature and a lot of other details, getting eaten by animals and all
Beautiful.
that. And then my
Beautiful.
thoughts,
He's out of his bubble. Why?
yeah, that
Very
wasn't,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And I was
Go ahead.
thinking
Go ahead.
like maybe the idea that I don't know how to connect this, but maybe that it says from the altar of Yitzhak is maybe he's looking back to the security of his father, but I don't know how that really connects.
Well, first of all, what else does he have from his father? The well, right? The well is from his father. The
Uh-huh.
well representing the Torah, the spirituality. So Yitzchak Avinu he taught Yaakov, so he's taking his father with him. Very good. And that well was by
Oh.
Avram too. So you have Avram and Yitzchak. Yaakov was not born into, from nothing into nothing. Yaakov is the son of Yitzchak, the grandson of Avram Avinu. That's why he's considered to be the only one of our forefathers that can go back. Remember, Avram Avinu had to leave Haran. Hashem says, listen, you can't stay here anymore. You have to leave and go to Eretz Yisrael so you could develop. You can't make it here. Yitzchak Avinu was born and raised in Eretz Yisrael, and Yaakov was so strong, stronger than Avram and stronger than Yitzchak. He can go back to Haran, where Avram Avinu came from, and stay there for many years and stay strong. So he was better than Avram, better than Yitzchak, but not better than them. It was because he had a grandfather called Avram and a father called Yitzchak that was so strong, they made him the strongest. In other words, he's standing on their shoulders. So Yaakov Avinu is the one who will have the 12 tribes, because after 3 fathers, Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and the 4 mothers who built up this tremendous nation, we're now ready. Now we're ready. So exactly right. He's protecting himself now from the world. The only way to protect yourself from the world is he's leaving the bubble. He's leaving the bubble. He's leaving the well. He's leaving everything. He needs the strength of the altar. Now, what's unique about the altar is that it's considered to be the highest level of all the challenges that Avram Avinu had. It's the ultimate sacrifice of life. It's always called the sacrifice of Avram, but it also is the sacrifice of Yitzchak. Yitzchak knew that he was going to be sacrificed. He knew it. And he went willingly. He went willingly. So basically, when we're trying to show the strength of the fathers, it's not just that they taught Torah, they taught spirituality. We say they were willing to sacrifice themselves, the ultimate sacrifice. And that's the highest level someone can reach, the end of Shir HaShirim, the ultimate love story between the Jewish nation and Hashem, talks about how fierce the love is that we're even willing to die for it. That's the highest possible level. So he now takes the stones from the altar of Yitzhak. It's a conceptual idea, which means he's strengthening himself with the idea. I got the Torah from my father, from my mother, from my grandfather, from my grandmother. I got their Torah. They taught me everything I have. I worked in it, and I'm ready for the ultimate sacrifice. He took from the stones of the altar, put it around him. Now he's ready. Okay.
I think it also connects
Yes.
the future. So he's in the middle. He's got 12 stones, which
Yeah.
I think he's got he's kind of got the I want to say protection, and that's a good word, of the fathers and of the future.
Well, you're saying beautifully. You're saying he took the stones, but he took 12 stones to represent he's going to have a continuation. So he's saying these stones are not in the past, not just for me, but these stones will continue forward for the 12 tribes. That's what you're saying? No, me?
Yeah, something. Yeah,
Mamash
some
yafeh.
idea like that. Some
Mamash,
idea like
mamash
that.
yafeh.
So that I
Wow.
think.
Beautiful. Mamash,
It's
mamash
like
beautiful.
chizuk.
What's that?
In a way, it's chizuk for him.
For
You
him,
know, it's
and
spiritual
what Naomi
encouragement.
added, that's right, it's for him.
Yeah.
That's true. And also giving to his children.
Yeah.
So it's actually brought down. There's an interesting chazal which talks about, which says that why did we praise Avram Avinu so much for being willing to sacrifice his son, and Yitzchak for dying? We see across the centuries that Jews have given their lives time and time and time again. So what makes Avram Avinu so great? And Chazal say it's the other way around. It's because Avram Avinu instilled in us that mesirut nefesh, that total devotion. Because of that, we his children now can do that. So based on what Naomi said here, it makes perfect sense. Yaakov takes the stones of the altar and he now makes it 12 of them, representing that it's now the strength and power will be given to all his children. That night, Rabbi Levi Omer, V'oto Laila, that very night, again, sleeping, leaving the physical world. After Yaakov, before falling asleep, does the maximum he can from the physical point of view. He has the well, he has the stones, and then he sees the ladder going all the way up to heaven. Okay, and the Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer brings a famous medrash that he didn't just the angels go up and down. He basically had a vision of all the future, all the way till the era of Mashiach. He saw that the Jewish nation will be taken captive by 4 galuyot. He saw the powers of Babylon, of Persia, of Greece, of Rome. He saw all the tremendous powers in the world. He's about to leave Israel. He's about to leave the bubble. He's about to go into the real life. And he had a dream about what this real world now was going to be. This real world now is going to be a hard world. Malachim olim ve'yordim. And he saw the angel of Babylon, of Bavel, and Nebuchadnezzar going up, moving up. And then he saw that it comes down. He will lose his power and the nation will be saved. And then he saw the Persian king go up. And then the Persian king, the power of Persia go down. And then the Greeks. And the Greeks fell. And the Romans. And well, not exactly. The Romans didn't exactly fall. Herau sar malchut Edom oleh, and he did not see him come down. And Yaakov started getting nervous. What's going to be? Anyway, and then Hashem tells him about the Geulah and so on. Nonetheless, Yaakov now gets up in the morning, the Pachad Gadol. He had a vision now of eternity. He saw the highest possible level of spirituality. It wasn't just a dream of angels going up and down. He actually saw the vision of the whole world from start to end. And he says, this must be Hashem's home. This must be Hashem's home. השכים ביתו של הקדוש ברוך הוא במקום הזה, Hashem's home, שנאמר, וירא ויאמר מה נורא המקום הזה. From here you learn, says Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol, שכל המתפלל במקום הזה בירושלים. From here we see that anyone who davens in this spot in Yerushalayim is as if he davened before Kiseh HaKavod. Why? It's as if he davened before the holy throne. Because this spot that he was on, which is the place of Kodesh HaKodeshim, because the gate of heaven, Shara Shamayim, Shamhu, there it is. Upetach patuach lishmoa tefillah. And it's an open gateway for listening to prayer. Shenimar v'zeh shar hashamayim. So Yaakov Avinu says that he took this after he wakes up and he goes, how full of awe is this place? This must be Ein Zekim Beit Elokim v'zeh shar hashamayim. It's the gateway to heaven, literally heaven and earth. This is exactly the place where they meet. Yeah, you were saying about to say something.
Oh, how can we daven at Kodesh HaKodeshim? That's like you can't go there, right?
Good question. Now it says if someone's in Chutz La'aretz, what direction do you daven?
East.
East, towards Israel, correct? And if you're in Israel, if you're in Netanya, do you daven east? No. What direction do you daven?
I don't know. It's kind of like a crooked direction.
Crooked direction. Towards. Very good. Very good.
Yeah, it's towards, right. It's towards Yerushalayim for sure.
Towards Yerushalayim.
Towards,
And if that's right. I live in Yerushalayim. And if you're in Yerushalayim, what direction do you daven?
Towards the temple.
Wherever the
That's right.
does.
So actually, we're all davening towards, we're focusing our prayers towards Kodesh HaKodeshim, right? Because that is the gateway to heaven. So first of all, Hashem is everywhere in the world, everywhere. So what did Yaakov see in this dream? That he now realizes this is the gateway to heaven. This is the Shar HaShamayim. Gateway to what? What's going on upstairs? What's going on downstairs? What's going on over here? Now, remember we learned last week about how the world, a human being, Beit HaMikdash, and the world is all one. We saw how the Beit HaMikdash also was built in a way representing a human being. We saw the Medrash Tanchuma that says that just like a human being is created from the umbilical cord, that's where it starts, right? It begins from the tabur and then grows. Also, the world was created from one spot, which is the Even HaShtiyah, and from there it actually grows. Now, what is an umbilical cord's job is to bring the strength and the energy from the mother to the new child, correct? That's what an umbilical cord is. So if we remember that Midrash Tanchuma, let me just see if I can find it over here so we could see it. Hold on a second. Midrash Tanchuma. Here we go. Tanchuma Pekudei. Davar Charaktiv Hashem B'Chochma Yisad Eretz, and Hashem created the world with Chochma. Hashem also created the Mishkan with Chochma, and also the human being. They're all the same thing. When Hashem created the world, Shebara Kadosh Baruch Hu et Olomo, Hiyelod Isha Bra'o, he created the world just like he creates a child in the mother's womb. Just like a child in the mother's womb begins with the umbilical cord with a one little spot over there and then gets bigger. Same thing, the world. Hashem began from Even HaShtiyah, and from there the world grew. Now I want to ask, the well, the stones of the altar, the umbilical cord. We see how these two start tying together. What is an umbilical cord? It gives the strength of the mother, right, to the child.
Nourishment.
It grows. What's that? Say it again.
Nourishment.
Nourishment. That's right. Also interesting, the blood from the mother runs through the child, right? The whole system, right? The baby cleans the blood, right? If I'm not mistaken, like the kidneys and everything doesn't everything I think go through the mother like it's one big system or something, or breathe. It gets the oxygen from the mother, right, not from its own lungs,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's really like one. So nourishment, and it really is one. So let's move now to Evan Hashtia. Based on this, the whole world was created from Evan Hashtia. Evan Hashtia, if we look at this, is the Shar Hashemayim, meaning this is the physical place on earth representing what? Spirituality is now entering earth exactly on that spot. Have you ever heard the terminology of Yerushalayim Shel Mala and Yerushalayim Shel Mata, the Upper Jerusalem and the Lower Jerusalem? Have you ever heard the terminology?
Yes. Yes.
What does that mean? It means the physical world and the spiritual world. The holiest place that we can understand in the physical world is Yerushalayim, Beit HaMikdash, Kodesh HaKodeshim. So when we want to connect the holiness of our world with the holiness of Hashem, Hashem again is everywhere. This is us as humans. We need a place, a physical place to attach to. So where does our physical world attach? We call that Beit HaMikdash. We need to physically attach someplace. So we have Beit HaMikdash. We have the place, the Kodesh HaKodeshim, the Holy of Holies, and that's the place we aim to. In other words, that's just our way of connecting with Hashem. Yerushalayim Shel Mala, representing total spirituality, connecting with our spirituality in our physical world, and all that happens in Kodesh HaKodeshim, all that happens on Evan Hashtia. And of course, we may say, what are you talking about? What does that do with the story of Yaakov? And let's now...
You're
Yes.
comparing it to an umbilical cord, so then you're basically nourishing the world with ruchaniyut through Even HaShtiyah.
And that's what it means. The world was created from it. It doesn't actually mean when Hashem made the world, Hashem took a rock and then wrapped it up with other stones. It means that the Even HaShtiyah is it presents, yes, there is a physical stone called Even HaShtiyah, because again, we're human beings. We physically need a place we can connect with. We need to shake a lulav on Sukkot. We need to sit inside of Sukkah. We have to eat matzah. We can't just sit and think about the ideas of matzah. We're not enough for us. We're human. That's what the Kuzari writes. But look at this. Ready for this now? We're going to see something which is going to throw you off your seats. Throw you off your seats. Okay. Vayeshev Yaakov, we go back to the Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer. And he found all the stones became one, and he made it a matzeva, and made it a monument. Now he then poured oil and anointed it. There's only one little problem. He didn't have oil with him. It says that when he ran from Beersheba, he was caught by Eliphaz, the grandson of Esav, who took away everything he had. So where did he get oil to anoint? It says, Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer, Yerad lo shemen min hashamayim, and a miracle oil came down from heaven, which again represents an idea that the idea of oil represents something so spiritual, because oil and water do not mix. Oil is always over. This is the Midrashim in Kohelet. Shemen Hatov, a good name is like good oil, which means you don't get tainted by anything out there. It's always floating over water. You can't ruin oil. It always stays floating. So he gets some very, very high spiritual inclination, and he now anoints he anoints the stone. And ready for this medrash now? You're holding on really, really, really tight. We have 5 minutes to go. Okay. Ma'asah HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem saw that he has the well. He slept. He sees this vision. He realizes the power of spirituality. He realizes this place is very, very, very special. And Yaakov takes this stone and anoints it, representing that he accepts this Mesirut Nefesh, this total devotion to Hashem, and as Naomi said so beautifully, and for all his children. He sees all the future, and he sees how difficult life is going to be, and all the challenge we're going to go through till Mashiach comes. And Yaakov grabs that stone, which represents the dedication and the protection from the physical world, because he accepts Hashem and he accepts spirituality, he accepts the challenge, he accepts it, and he anoints it. Says, Hashem, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready to go into the challenge. I anoint it. And now what does Hashem do? Hashem says, okay, you're ready now to create the Jewish nation, which has a mission to be a light to all the other nations in the world. Judaism is about being that gateway to Hashem and spreading the light, being Shar Hashamayim, spreading it to the entire world. That's our mission. That's our goal. Masa Kadosh Baruch Hu. Natar Regel Yamino. He took his right leg. Right leg represents deep ideas, right, strength, power. Chesed Vetava Ha'even. And he took his leg, conceptually speaking, and sunk the rock Adim Kei Tehomot, all the way till the core of the earth, just like a person does snifla kippah, and that became known as Even HaShtiyah, and that became the stone Tabur Haaretz, that became the stone of the core of the earth. And from there, all the world spanned. And that's why Hashem took that stone, sunk it to the core of the earth. That became Even HaShtiyah, and that's why on that spot became Kodesh HaKodeshim. So it says over here explicitly, not the other way around, not that, oh, there's Beit HaMikdash, and Beit HaMikdash happens to be a stone. It says over here the other way around. It says here that Hashem took the stone of Yaakov, forced it into the ground, made it the core of the earth, and that's why the Beit HaMikdash is there, and that's why the Yerushalayim Shel Mala is the gateway to the the world of spirituality and the physical world. That's why it's going to be over there. So it's the opposite. So wait. So who made Even HaShtiyah? Who
Hashem,
created it? Hashem. That's right. From what? Good. From what was it
from the
created from?
stones
That
that Yaakov gathered.
Yaakov. That gathered. So wait, 1 second. Is Even HaShtiyah a stone that's been there forever and ever, or did Yaakov remember the question that was asked here about an hour ago in this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Wait. Isn't it a contradiction? No, not a contradiction. It's the idea. In other words, a stone is a stone. That's all it is. It's just a stone. But the Even HaShtiyah is not about a stone. It's about that Yaakov Avinu reached the highest level of being willing, him and his children, to dedicate their lives completely to Hashem. Hara Moriah is where Akidat Yitzchak took place. It says that when Hashem created Adam Harishon, Adam, he took the dirt from the place of the Mizbeach. Again, the place of the Beit HaMikdash, that's where he took the dirt. Noah brings a sacrifice to Hashem on that place too. So Hara Moriah became a place where our forefathers developed from Adam and Noah and Avram and Yitzchak and Yaakov. That is where they expressed their total dedication to Hashem. And that's why Hashem says, this is the gateway to heaven. Heaven and earth connect by people wanting to connect with spirituality. It's not about Hashem being up there and and we're down here. It's about the connection. Hashem will connect with us if we want to connect with Hashem. So Hashem took the place of Har HaMoriah, took the Even HaShtiyah, which represents the total dedication. It was taken from the stones of the Mizbeach of Yitzchak, representing dedication. It was done by Yaakov Avinu, accepting now that he's ready to go into the real world, use the stones to protect him, and use that power of connection to spirituality to take him through the darkness. He's about to go through him and his children thousands of years of darkness, and they're protected. They're strong. And Hashem says, this dedication, this connection of human beings with me, this is Even HaShtiyah. Yes, there's a physical rock, but it's the beauty. Here is where human beings want to connect. Shara Shemaim is not that Hashem's there, we're here, and we're trying to connect with Hashem. When we connect with Hashem, we now create something called the gateway of heaven. We're going to see B'ezras Hashem next week. I'll show you the midrashim that says that Hashem says, I could only have a Yerushalayim Shalmala. I could only have a spiritual entity only if the human beings create a spiritual entity in this world. So it's a gateway for me also to be able to get into the gate into Yerushalayim Shalmala. So let's just summarize what we've seen today. We've seen today as follows. We've seen today that the previous class shiurim, I'm just summarizing in a line or two. The previous shiurim we saw Even HaShtiyah is something very special. Kodesh HaKodeshim, the Holy of Holies, is the core of the world. We saw also that it's an umbilical cord, just like human beings in the world, and Beit HaMikdash truly are one. It's us connecting with Hashem. Today we've seen that it's the humans who are the ones building that dedication. Now Hashem makes the Even HaShtiyah because human beings now, because it's Yerushalayim Shalmata, because humans want to connect with Hashem, this now makes that the place of dedication, that place now becomes the place where Hashem is connects with people. That's where human beings became dedicated to Hashem. And that's why that place became Kodesh HaKodeshim. And that's why that place became Even HaShtiyah. Just this, as we end, it says that by Hashem, there's no such concept as past, present, and future. So even though the rock of Shtiyah by definition had to have been there before Yaakov gets there, in the merit of Yaakov, Avinu, not the rock of Shtiyah, exactly the rock of Yaakov, it doesn't actually matter. The idea would be that because Yaakov actually has dedication, Avram, Adam Arishon, Noach, Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, that's the place of dedication. Therefore, in retrospect, from our perspective, Hashem builds Even HaShtiyah, the Kodesh HaKodeshim is over there, but it's really all about our dedication. And that's why Even HaShtiyah was there, true, from the beginning of the world, but it's there in that merit. But B'ezras Hashem, in the next year, which is the final shiur, we're going to see the beautiful, beautiful midrashim, how human beings are the ones who are actually building the spirituality in the world. We'll also learn about what we do on Yom Kippur in Kodesh HaKodeshim, how we connect with Hashem, and in that merit now, we're able to build a world of spirituality, and Hashem is able to now connect with the earth and also to make spirituality great. If Yerushalayim Shalmata, the lower Jerusalem, the physical world, the spirituality in this physical world of Jerusalem is on a high level, this now enables the upper Jerusalem to prosper that much more. But B'ezras Hashem, we'll see all that next week. The Shar HaShamayim, gateway to heaven, Even HaShtiyah, umbilical cord of spirituality in our physical world, which also enables spirituality to grow as well. Okay.
That
So
was amazing.
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you very, very, very much. B'ezras Hashem, next
Thank
week
you,
just
Rabbi.
puts everything just
B'ezras
all
Hashem
together.
next week. Thank you.
You'll see, by the way, you'll see next week, because you see Yom Kippur, you'll actually see what the Kohen Gadol does in Kodesh HaKodeshim, and like, that makes perfect sense. It's going to make perfect sense what we're doing there.
But with Yaakov dreaming and seeing the angels going up and down, they're basically going from Yerushalayim Shalmata to Yerushalayim Shalmala and back. Right?
First of all, there are a number of midrashim over there, what exactly the angels were doing. The Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer brings the medrash that what they were doing is they were rising up to take control over Am Yisrael. Olim, again, there are a lot of midrashim. So one you might say, well, one midrash maybe they're going from the lower Jerusalem to the upper Jerusalem. Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer says he sees them going up the ladder, like overcoming spirituality, like the Babylonians destroyed the Beit HaMikdash, right? The Persians, the Greeks, the Romans, and like they go up but he saw them also coming down, or spirituality won at the end. The last one, he got very scared because the last galut is not over, and that lasts for thousands of years. And again, it was a very, very strong lesson. But that's again one midrash. So there are other ones that there were the Malachim of Eretz Yisrael going to Chutz La'aretz, a million midrashim. Midrashim again, it's endless, it's endless, it's endless, it's endless. So we're trying over here with an Even HaShtiyah to find the midrashim actually focusing on these deep ideas of how it connects to Even HaShtiyah. But you're 100% right.
Thank you.
Anyway, okay.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Rabbi. Shavua Tov.
Shavua
Shavua
Tov.
tov.
Shavua Tov.